This is Chelsea, and what I'm going to do is create a short textured look on her. So I've sectioned off the top into a horseshoe section, and then a section at the occipital bone, which gives us 3 sections: the top, the middle, and the nape. I'm going to use a technique called surface cutting in the nape, and I'm using a straight razor. You can use a feather razor or a razor with a guard on it, whatever you're comfortable with. And I'm going to comb the hair no wider than my second knuckle here. And I'm going to use that panel. I'm going to go in and I'm going to start to just razor, and you want to make sure your razor is very sharp. And I'm just going to start to razor this hair away and closer to her head. So instead of cutting this technically very short, we're going to cut it so that it just kind of melts in towards the bottom at the nape. Now I'm just going to continue moving my way over in panels, so we'll do one here and then one here using the same technique. So I dropped down the midsection. Now what I've done is taken a 1-inch parting right down the center. I go in at about 4 inches, and I'm going to start to move the blade and move the hair down. So I'm going to take another 1-inch section, and what I'm going to do is comb it out from the head, and I'm going to take a piece from the very bottom of my previous section. So there it is there. I'm going to slide past. As soon as it leaves my hand, I'm going to go in and I'm going to start to move up the section. So we're working straight up, and that's going to give us another varying length. So we started at the existing perimeter of the first section, worked our way up, and created an unevenness there. So now I'm starting with my shortest point on the top again. We're going to go in at 4 inches again. I'm not connecting it to the previous section. So here we go, going in at 4 inches, and then working our way down. And then we're going to go ahead and take our perimeter and match it up. So it's more of a visual matchup, but we're creating a horizontal line, even though it's very jagged this way. What I'm going to do through the side, because we've got less density because of this area here, we've got less density on the bottom, is I'm going to continue with vertical sections, but I'm only going to work from top to bottom, so we maintain our weight down at the bottom. So I'm not going to cut short to long at all on this section around her face because it's much finer, and we want to compensate for that. Now I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I started in the center, from top to bottom. Now we're going to work bottom to top. So I've dropped down the top section, and what I've done is from the high point of the head, which is where the comb sits. When you put it flat on the head, it's where the comb sits on the head. From there, I've taken a section going to the back of the ear, so right here. I've taken a section that goes to the back corner of the head on this side here. I've done the same thing on this side, which gives me 3 sections. And then I have my 2 side sections, 1, 2, and then my fringe area. So everything comes back to that one point. So now what I'm going to do is take a piece from the center where everything meets in the middle there, and I'm going to measure where I want my layers to start. So I want it to sit, once it's dry, a little bit below the occipital. So it's going to vary from head to head. And I'm just going to remove the length this way. Now, that's going to be the shortest point of the top. I'm going to take this entire triangle now, the center triangle. I'm going to comb it up and over to the front. I'm going to take away from that point there, which is right here, and I'm going to take that length off. Now it's going to be a little bit uneven because it's hanging down there, so I'm just going to recomb it, clean that up. So when it drops back, what's happening is we're causing this hair to travel further to get to that length. When it drops back, it's going to get a lot longer than the bottom, but we're still going to have our shortest layer. So it just gives us a nice full layer into the hair as opposed to square or taking too much weight out of the back. Now what I'm going to do is just continue using that same piece as a guide, and each triangle is going to get combed over to the opposite position of where it lives. So this triangle here is going to get combed up and then all the way over to the corner of the eye so that it's going the opposite direction of where it lives. And I'm just going to take a small piece from that first section, our shortest point, and we're going to go all the way over. And remove our length. Next section, same thing, and removing the length. You can see I've clipped the underneath away, and that's really important so that we don't cut into anything that we've done there. There's nothing we're connecting to. It's completely disconnected from the bottom. Just grabbing that little piece every time, up and over to the front corner, and remove the length. So you can see how we get some shorter layers sitting on the surface there. I still have the bottom clipped underneath, but I just wanted you to see what those layers do by cutting them that way. So now what I'm going to do is drop the bottom and connect the perimeter. So if she already has a fringe from a previous haircut, what I want to do is just look at if some of this hair is falling in that area. And I'm going to do very shallow point cutting so that, again, it's not a completely blunt edge, but it's not too soft either. Now that the cut is finished, I'm going to go ahead and blow dry. I'm going to use some lightweight smoothing lotion from Pureology, which is just enough to give it a little bit of hold, but it mainly is just going to give it some slip and a little bit of body. So I'm using a little bit of density definer from Pureology, and it's a light matte wax. What I'm doing is just putting it into my hands and then just taking it on the ends, working it through, and just pulling it out like this. So you get that very thatchy kind of finish to the ends. So here's Chelsea finished. You can see how we've got that nice strong fringe. We've got a very shattered edge because of how we cut it, but it still has a geometric, almost blunt feel to it.